I have to show you this game just because it went through such an extraordinary number of layers of types of chess, types of game. Crazy, and I probably shouldn't have won it, really. It was a king-pawn opening, and out comes this early queen on the black, and so out come my knights to worry her. Don't know why I didn't do that. It's definitely a better move. I think I was just too scared by that bishop pincer attack, that scholar's mate idea. So I came out with a similar idea instead. Very unusual, taking my bishop to there. And this was a total blunder because really, yes, I can take that, and then he gets 2 pieces, so that's what happens. One, 2 pieces, and well, I get a pawn for my trouble. I get a pawn for a piece. Really, really bad that was anyway. And now he's down here. It's not too bad. I can scare him away here. There is potential to win the queen actually here if you play your cards right. She shouldn't be out that early. We can make him waste an awful lot of moves. I've got a nice mark there on his c-pawn there, but he snaps up that knight because I've taken my eye off of the knight. Probably should have moved the king up first. So another big blunder. And yeah, I mean, he's 2 minor pieces up. He's 2 knights up at this point. Really, really bad. I've lost both knights. And now he comes in here looking for checkmate, looking for pretty much of an insta-mate on the e2 square. No choice really. Well, there is choice-ish. I could have put my queen onto c2, but it didn't. I'd rather do this and continue with my own advantage of where my queen is by taking this extra pawn here. I think that's better. His king's in a worse position than mine, arguably considerably worse than mine. Comes his knight to back up things, but there's no squares really of note for his knight to be able to get to at the moment. So out comes my bishop, just linking it onto that pawn to get it strong.
Check.
And what a fool. So look, I've now got a queen and a bishop. He's got a queen, a knight, and then on top of that a knight and a rook and a rook. On the plus side, I have got 3 pawns in the middle. Extra. Pretty small change, 3 pawns for 3 pieces. So yeah, let's game 3 pawns for 3 pieces. Crazy. But let's see how this unfolds, because it gets quite interesting. I do actually get this piece back, so that's only for a moment that it's that 3 pawns for 3 pieces. But now he's desperately trying to castle. I don't know why. There isn't much point in castling when there is this little material on the board. All he's really doing.
Queenside castle.
So I could take the knight. That was one choice, one option, just to
Check.
take the knight and do
Check.
this. Yep, might have been a good idea, because if he goes here,
Check.
I could have won the other rook, and that's actually a really good square for my queen to be on, because it stops him from being able to take this b2 pawn with check.
Check. Check.
But no, that's not what happened.
Queenside castling.
After
Queenside
he castled,
castling.
instead, I took this.
Queenside castling.
Sorry, I moved the bishop here for the same purpose, to cover my b2 pawn. Stop this queen from being able to take it with check. Okay, so it goes on like this, and I don't know, I think I've got something good going with this potential queening pawn, but I can't quite work out what yet. So we carry on with the check here, and he moves. Now, I don't know, what was the right move here? Was it to take the knight, in fact? I think it was. I mean, I do like that, but I think I have to take the knight and fork those rooks. Because the great thing is, if he does something like, well, no, maybe not that, but if he does something like this, maybe trying to catch the pawn, then I've got that, followed by that, followed by that, followed by that. And that would have been quite a nice combination. So I was looking for that. I was hoping for that. But he moved there instead, so it was no good. I still had, though, this.
Check.
And that still gives me one free rook at least, but he can take the pawn here.
Check.
But he rather foolishly didn't. He's looking for checkmate. So down he comes, and now I'm in a lot of danger of checkmate, actually.
Check.
This is quite serious stuff here. I'm in danger of either checkmate or losing my queen. Although that pawn is 2 moves away from checking him with becoming a queen. But it's all looking a bit bad. Yeah, you see he's got the pawn now because he had check. He was able to use those moves to grab the pawn, but I can now snap some pawns up myself as follows. Watch this. This is, you see my queen's in the middle of the board, his is at the edge. And his queen's not only at the edge, but the rook is stopping it from moving up to a nice rank there. Right on the nice c-file. And there's actually not much scope for him to move along his diagonal. He's got very little he can do. I suppose he could have done something like this. That might have been... But then he's not linked to the rook anymore. I'm linked to my bishop now. So, let's see how this unfolds. He takes the pawn.
Check.
I think that's probably the right move. And then we've got check here.
Check.
Check with the bishop. Trying to get the bishop and the queen coordinated. Goes to here. Check here. Goes to here. And this, because of the bishop blocking him from being able to move down, I can get this pawn with check. And
check.
Just continuing like this.
Check. Check.
Snapping up pawns as I go.
Check. Check.
Could have done that one.
Check.
With check there, actually.
Check. Check. Check.
Lots of pawn snapping possibilities here anyway. That was the point of what I was saying here.
Check.
And a rook's quite easy to evade as a parier.
Check.
And now we came to the crunch. And I looked at the board and I thought, well, you've got 2 pawns and a rook. And I've got 6 pawns and a bishop. I'm definitely better. Definitely, no question about it. So
check.
I took. Get the pawns onto those black squares. And get the bishop working with them. And then start to advance those 2 middle ones. I mean, who wouldn't want to be white in this position? Yes, I had to kiss goodbye to that one, and the price, that's the price for advancing these 3 in the middle.
Check.
But I don't think he's got time to get it home.
Check.
He really doesn't have time to get it home.
Check.
He's got to do that instead. Now I can mark the queening square for that 1 pawn that he's got passed. But I'm a bit stuck here because his king's on a very, very good square. So I'm going to have to use my king to catch this pawn. He can't afford really to use his rook to help because I've got that queening pawn potentially. So he comes down and takes this one, which obviously my king has left no longer defending, and I grab this one. So now look, I still think that my position is way, way better than his. Comes back with the king here, and just slight retreat with the bishop. Again, linking onto a pawn. Pawns and bishops can protect each other this way. And even here, it doesn't matter. I can just take it, and I can come back. Now, at this point, I should have taken his rook. This was the biggest missed opportunity of the game. And despite all of my other missed opportunities, my foolishnesses and blunders early, this was the biggest missed opportunity of the game. Why didn't I just take that rook? Because after rook takes, king takes, bishop with check, it's all over. But we had to play on the hard way. King has to come over, and he proceeds to indicate that he's now going to try and checkmate me using king and rook. Well, this is a Class B player, I think. And they're not necessarily always that good at doing the king and rook checkmate, believe it or not. I personally think he should have tried to just take the bishop, using his king to back it up, and get rid of my pawns and have a draw. I think it should have been a draw. This is a drawn position in my book. Or at the very least, he should have been able to checkmate me as well, if he was any good. But it's very difficult to get the king to go into a corner when you've got this happening, because this is what I suddenly realised, is that yeah, he can go on with his really slow, clunky attempt at mating me with the king and rook, which most players do pretty inefficiently. You go in and out of one corner and then to the other and then to the next, and I thought, well, given that, and given that he was showing me that he was doing it quite inefficiently, all I have to do is this tiny move here, and now he's really got a problem. Is he going to checkmate me in time, you know? And now I'm here. Well, what are you going to do? How are you going to catch that? And yes, you've got the rook there, but now I've got this. So as you see, there's actually no way he can get rid of this queen. If he goes here, the bishop takes him. If he goes here, the queen at queens.
Promotion to queen.
If he threatens the bishop, I take
Promotion
his
to queen.
So look how powerful the bishop becomes with a queening pawn, especially when the queening squares are the right colour. So we got this.
Promotion to queen.
King goes up to try to assist, and it's too late. I don't mind losing that queen, because after he takes, I've got another one here. I can bring my bishop all the way down to protect it, and then simply had to run it home without a stalemate. So you can see how that works. It's not that hard to do.
Check. Check. Promotion to queen.
And checkmate. So that was really interesting series of different bits and pieces that I had to do, different types of chess game that all ran through that one.